Hello, hello, hello. Top of the morning, evening, afternoon, and good night to one and all. It is Monday, May 26th. Happy Memorial. Well, it's not happy, right? It's, what is it? It is not Happy Memorial Day. It's remembering the soldiers on Memorial Day. I'm going to do an interesting stream today. It's been a minute. I'm going to try to come back a little bit, try to do a little bit more. What is on my head? Still got that hickey. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tony. Yeah, I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to play a clip for you, and we're going to watch together because I was taking a shower this morning, and I said, this is interesting. Thank you so much, Monkey. Thank you, thank you. I was like, I'm going to do something different because it's been a while. It's been a while since I've actually done a video talking about news, and I feel like this is something that I need to cover. Now, keep in mind that when you watch these streams, right, you may think that, wow, Jay is a pro-Trumper. Wow, Jay is a Democrat. He's a liberal. No, I'm not, right? And the fact that I have to go over this over and over and over again, I'll just kind of clear the air. I feel like every video I do, because I always get a new person to watch it, is basically, I'm a centrist, right? I look at both sides. I look at the left, I look at the right, and then I say, okay, let's go down the middle. Let's figure out who's right, who's wrong. But everybody's aware of the China situation, of what's happening with China, the trade war that's still going on. Well, I've been saying for a minute that there's a lot of stuff going on with China, and China's a threat. People argue and say China's not a threat. They don't really care. It's no big deal, or that they feel threatened. Let me tell you a little story real quick. I sell these e-bikes that I do reviews on, and this guy had said that, you know, when this whole thing pops off, that what's going to happen is all the things from China are going to be cheaper than what they are. It's interesting because I actually noticed this. I did a review. I'll get to the story. Just give me a second. I did a review on a product. This product, when I did the review 2 months ago, was $1,100. The tariffs kick in. And now, well, I guess they're not truly kicked in yet, like truly. Tariffs kicked in. The bike goes from $1,100 to $1,000. It's interesting. Okay, and now all these e-bike companies are saying, hey, these tariffs, we're going to up the shipping of it. Okay, so I go to it again yesterday, and now the bike's $850. This e-bike I'm talking about, again, some people don't know what I'm referencing, but this e-bike is worth like $1,500, but it's $850 now. Anyway, moving forward, so it almost validates what he's saying, that it will bring the prices down. You would think that it would bring them up. And these bikes, by the way, are not in America. They're in China. So how are they cheaper? Okay, that being said, let me play this. Let's go over this. It is a little bit of a long video. I will add my commentary over it, but I know that some of you are going to enjoy this.
Coming up.
You don't have enough aircraft. You don't have enough ships.
Ratcheting up the rhetoric.
So we're already at war with China?
Ask the Chinese, they'd tell you.
Is it just Beijing bluff?
You're going to lose. Our soldiers would be brave, and our weapons would be lethal.
Or real this time?
Australia is very much on the menu.
Our Chief of Navy has his say.
There are 1,000 ways to start a conflict. There's only 2 ways that it ends.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
In the increasingly less than delicate dance for dominance in our region,
And don't worry about it. It's not 60 minutes long. So don't get all panicky. It's not 60 minutes. I feel like 60 minutes in Australia is not 60 minutes. It's 30, but okay.
there's no denying China boasts superior force when compared with our military. It's an advantage they love to show off, like they did earlier this year when Chinese warships provocatively sailed a lap of Australia. But while Beijing sticks are impressive, their carrots are also proving to be effective weapons, especially when it comes to influencing our near neighbours. Chinese money has been buying plenty of friendship in the South Pacific. So what's the next step Australia should be taking as China moves closer and closer to our shores? It's dawn off the coast of Western Australia. In the early sun, these waters are vast and peaceful. For now.
I always think it's beautiful. You guys want me to add commentary or you just want to watch it? You probably want me to add commentary, right? So I always think it's funny when you watch anything on Australia, like, oh my God, it's so beautiful there. Like the sunsets, the women, the accents are absolutely horrendous, but the accents, everything about Australia screams, I want to go live there. And then you realize how much of a hold and grasp that the government has on the country itself and how isolated you are and how that island was formed based off of convicts. And the amount of poisonous animals. So yeah, don't let this fool you that Australia is some type of paradise tucked away somewhere where no one knows about. That's not what Australia is. It's not. It's not.
But we're about to find out just how perilous our ocean border has become. As we join the crew of the mighty Australian warship HMAS Hobart on a submarine hunting exercise.
Okay, this is interesting because where do you see this? I guess this is their military. If you look like this in our military, you would get kicked out. That's all I'm saying. You got people with full beards in uniform. I've never seen anything like this. This is kind of cool, though.
It's a very difficult mission. Obviously, not being able to see where the enemy is and what the enemy's doing makes that really complex. Train AP, right astern, thrust 20%.
Commanding Officer Ali Withers is in charge of the ship, which carries 200-odd crew members and is armed to the hilt.
GWS PWO, Mountain 51, burst.
And why do all of their people look like the Taliban? Why do all of the people on the ship look like they belong to the other side? No?
One, engage.
So we're an air warfare destroyer, so our main armament on board is our surface-to-air missile systems. So we've got a 48-cell vertical launch system with Standard Missile 2 on board. We also have a 5-inch gun. We've got some smaller Typhoon guns, as well as our torpedoes on board, and that's really they're our main armament on board.
I know you're very focused on the day-to-day running of the ship and the exercise, but this security environment is tense and it's changing. Does that weigh on you?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, my mission is to make sure that my ship and my crew are ready at all times to respond when we need to.
The Navy's readiness was tested in February when 3 Chinese warships sailed into these waters unannounced. It was a confronting sight, thought to be the furthest south the People's Liberation Army had ever ventured, stopping to conduct live fire drills in the Tasman Sea.
The Chinese are signalling, they are practicing and rehearsing, and they are collecting.
This is the first time we've seen a task group from the PLA Navy circumnavigate Australia. That is true.
For all the speculation and hysteria at the time, there's one man who knows how it all played out, the Chief of the Royal Australian Navy.
Look at their beards. What is this? What is this? What is this? Is this how other countries are allowed to look in uniform? You don't look professional. I'm just saying, that's a bad look.
Vice Admiral Mark Hammond is under more pressure than ever before.
They were here expressing to the world their capability as a blue water navy to deploy across the Indo-Pacific. So I think we will see more deployments like this.
Tonight, for the first time, he's speaking publicly about what was reported as a total surprise to our military and authorities. But the chief insists that wasn't the case. Were you caught off guard?
No, we're aware of their approach through the Indonesian archipelago for some time.
In fact, the Navy had been monitoring the Chinese ships.
What is on their heads? Like, okay, I've seen inside of ships before. I've seen inside of submarines. Why are you wearing that? Like, what is that? Is that to hide your identity? I don't understand what that is. And then the white gloves. Why did they have boxer shorts on their face and a shower cap on their hair? Right? Like, I can't understand. What is the attempt? To, like, not look conspicuous? Because I can tell you this. You look like you're about to get on your hands and knees and clean a bathroom floor. That's what I get by what you're wearing. Like, you don't look like somebody that knows their shit. Like, you might look good, like how to clean the toilet bowl, but you don't look good where, like, you don't look good as a unit. You know what I mean? Like, when you see all of this, it just looks like a bunch of housemaids that are controlling some shit on a ship to fire a missile. That's what I get. It's a bad look. I don't care what the reason is, honestly. Like, make it black. Make it gray. Don't go with white. It's not... just look bad.
But once they crossed into international waters between New Zealand and Australia, our boats stopped following them.
They did spend a little over 3 weeks in and around Australia's exclusive economic zone. They didn't spend a minute in our exclusive economic zone without one of our surface combatants monitoring their activities.
Were they threatening us?
There were no threatening interactions between our navies at all during that period.
So why didn't they warn Australian authorities they were coming?
Well, I don't think we always transmit our intent to deploy a ship to the South China Sea, for example.
The chief...
That's a valid argument. That's a valid argument. You know, you hear this a lot of how Americans, I'll use Americans, just go to places because, well, we feel like there might be a threat there, but we don't let that country know. So why does China have to let you know that they're going there? If the rule works for one, it works for all. So if we could just show up somewhere, so can China. So can Japan. So can Vietnam. It doesn't matter. I always found that interesting that you have to let us know, but we don't have to let you know. Oh, is that how war works? By the way, we're gonna raid your country in 10 minutes. Just be ready.
The chief is understandably defensive and diplomatic, but there's no doubt the deployment exposed Australia's vulnerability.
The Chinese have been very clear about what they intend to do. We just choose not to believe them. And Australia is very much on the menu. That holds them
Retired
back.
US Marine Colonel Grant...
I thought about this. I said, why would this guy from the United States go on to an Australian 60 Minutes to talk about the warfare, if you will, of another country towards another country when it's not America? Like, you don't know enough. You're a full... They're calling him a colonel. He might be a lieutenant colonel. So...
Grant Newsham has strong views about...
This is how conspiracies start, and then this is how people start believing things, because you have old Jackie over here who has nothing better to do on a Sunday but to go out to Australia and go talk to them because they're paying him $2,000 for an exclusive interview when he was probably a nobody. I could see if he was a general, valid argument. Full bird, not really. General, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star in a time of war. Yes. Colonel, go. Don't you have some paperwork to file for all your officers or something? Like, come on. You don't know shit. You just read some. Yeah.
China's visit. Grant spent decades heading up military intelligence in the Indo-Pacific.
See, that argument right there, I could say the same thing. I spent years of service in the Middle East looking at military intelligence and hearing all about it by driving generals around. That gives me no qualifications whatsoever. That is like exactly what I said. You don't have shit. You just listened and read things. God.
And says Beijing is sending a clear message to Australia.
So they're telling Australia there's more coming.
So this is a deliberate, aggressive show of force.
Yes, this is a very well thought out, well planned move
Agreed.
with consideration
Agreed.
of the political effects.
While sailing around Australia, the Chinese ships held live fire drills in international waters in the Tasman Sea. And that's where it got really humiliating for authorities.
The only way you knew about this was because a Virgin pilot heard about it and called in. Correct.
We had already ceased shadowing them at that point because they were more than 100 miles outside of our exclusive economic zone, well and truly into international waters. And navies generally don't follow other navies around in international waters.
Good music. I feel like somebody's about to come out and punch him in the face. Like, that's good, suspenseful music. It's about to go down. A porno's turning on. Very good.
Ceased shadowing them at that point because they were more than 100 miles outside of our exclusive economic zone, well and truly into international waters. And navies generally don't follow other navies around in international waters.
It's clear the incident has put our defence forces on high alert. But for Grant Newsham, it's too little, too late.
And the Chinese conception of war is very different than ours. We look at it as a 100-meter race where you go up to the line and you shake loose and then someone shoots the gun off and then the race has begun. So we don't see ourselves at war. The Chinese do. And to them, the shooting part is the last step. But the rest of it is this political warfare, the economic warfare, the elite capture, the propaganda, the Psychological warfare.
So we're already at war with China.
Very much. Ask the Chinese, they'd tell you.
Agree.
If he's right, it's clearly a very different type of battle. And make no mistake, Australia's flanks are exposed. As you'll see, China has already dug in.
The West dropped the ball, and China picks up the loose ball.
Deep in the South Pacific lies the beautiful and humble nation of Tonga. Made up of 170 islands and just over 100,000 people. With its coconut palm-lined beaches and warm hospitality, Tonga is known as the Friendly Islands. And Australia, to the west, has always fostered that friendship. But now there's a better friend in town, China. This small island nation is at the centre of a tug-of-war between Beijing and the West. And you don't have to look far from the idyllic foreshore to see who's winning. From supermarkets to major infrastructure and government buildings like the striking St. George Palace, China is firm.
It's interesting that China's getting involved with a neighboring country saying, hey, listen, we got more money than what Australia's given. Why don't you let us hook it up and we'll protect you. We got you. And then in a time of war, who do you think that this island is going to fight with? I mean, there's only 100,000 people. That's not really much of a threat. But hey, we got this country here. We have all these countries. Well, it's just going to get deeper.
Firmly entrenched in day-to-day life here.
So this is St. George Palace. Why is it so important to Tongans?
It's the Prime Minister's office, Ministry of Finance, and Immigration.
And it was a gift from China?
Indeed, it was a gift from China.
$20 million?
Yeah, over 20 million.
Over 20 million. It's a lot of money.
It is.
Retired Colonel Siamelie Latu was Tonga's ambassador to China for 5 years. Now, he's Secretary General for the Tonga-China Friendship Association.
And are there strings attached to that?
There's no string attached at all. It's a free will, you know. It's an unconditional love.
Unsurprisingly,
unconditional. Really? They gave you a bill. If I give you something, if I come to your house, let's play a scenario out. I come to your house. I build you a pool. Little mother-in-law suite. This is on me. This is my gift to you. Next time I need something, and I'm like, hey, man, I need 40 pounds of sugar and I want to drive your car all day because I don't have one. Are you going to say no to me? No. No. Okay, sure, of course. It's not unconditional. It's not you have this and it's no big deal. Yeah, we'll go to war with you. You built our buildings.
Siamelier has only praise for his nation's close ties to Beijing.
How would you describe Tonga's relationship with China? It's more than just a friendship, isn't it?
It's more like brothers and sisters. What I mean by that is that Tonga and China, they have something in common. Chinese culture is almost similar in a sense to Tongan culture.
Traditionally, Tonga's allies and partners were America, Australia. What happened? What changed?
To be frank about it, you know, because the West dropped the ball and China picks up the loose ball.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, the West did what? Let me play that back. I don't know if I heard that right the first time. I probably didn't hear it the first time when I watched this already.
What happened? What changed?
To be frank about it, you know, because the West dropped the ball and China...
Explain how the West dropped the ball and that China picked it up. Explain that, please. Because they're talking about Australia and America. What? All right, let's just keep this playing.
China picks up the loose ball.
Do you feel you have to pick a side between China and the West?
We don't have to pick side. We are friends of all, enemy to none. However, we secretly know who to make friends to, you know?
What kind of comment was that?
However, we secretly know who to make friends to, you know?
Oh yeah, China. China. I've been saying this shit for like 7 months.
You can see the fruits of that friendship right across Tonga's capital, which is pitted with multi-million-dollar gifts or grants from China, like the new $55 million sports complex where Tonga hopes to host international events.
International events? That looks like that could seat 600 people. Come on. International events of what? Of a festival? Of what? There's no sports. I don't even know what that is. What kind of field is that? It's not soccer. There's no goals. It's not football. I don't know what it is. It's not football, not rugby. What is that? Cricket? Is that a cricket thing? Crochet? Crochet. Croquet? What is it? Cricket? No. Croquet. Nope. I think it's croquet. That's what the balls? I'm getting that mixed up with crocheting. I think it's croquet. I think croquet. Croquet. Yeah, that might be what that is. Like, that might be a miniature golf course. I don't know. I don't know what kind of international event you're holding there. Because based off the size of the tree over here, okay, based off this tree, it's not. Unless they have really large, short, fat trees in Australia, this size doesn't make a good reference. Like, look at the little tiny house over here. That's not, you're not having no internet. Come on. Now 60 Minutes Australia's trolling you. There's no international events here. International Funnel Cake Festival, that might be what that is. That might be a place where you could maybe get together and sell pies from different regions of the world. There's no sports here. That's not a sport complex. Okay, stop that. You're just talking out of your ass.
While just down the road, Chinese contractors are restoring the tombs of the nation's royal family. A revered job here, the last remaining monarchy in the Pacific. When it comes to foreign policy and alliances, who makes decisions?
The final call under our constitution is His Majesty the King.
Lord Whakawhenua is a member of the royal family.
Lord what? What?
Lord Whakawhenua is...
I'm sorry. I'm gonna need that one more time.
Lord Whakawhenua is...
Is she saying Lord Whakawhenua? What kind of name is that, bro? You gotta change that. You're gonna need a new name. Like that's, you can't, are you gonna be the MC to that sport complex? Everybody welcome Lord Whakawhenua. Yeah, no, that's not gonna work. You're gonna need to change that. Someone's gonna get offended.
Lord Whakawhenua is a member of the royal family and the Speaker of Tonga's...
If he's part of the royal family, we got to change that name.
Parliament. It's a role that requires considerable diplomacy, which is perhaps why he says Tonga must embrace both communist China and the West.
Ooh.
How would you characterise Tonga's relationship with Australia?
I would say our relationship is one similar to that on the football field. We have a friendly rivalry, but it's one based on mutual respect and understanding, and Australia has a pivotal role to play as a regional power in the Pacific. And
explain to me a friendly rivalry. Explain that to me. Like, explain it to me like if I was 2 years old. A friendly rivalry. To me, in my mind, a rivalry means just like that. Somebody that I'm competing with. Somebody that I don't get along with. I don't know if you could have friendly sportsmanship. I don't know about friendly rivalry. Those I don't feel like belong in the same sentence. That's like toxic love. Ooh, that is, well, no, yeah, that's not a thing. That's obsessed.
And they have always been there for us in Tonga.
Walking around the streets of Tonga, it seems like Australia perhaps hasn't been there enough.
I wouldn't say China and Australia are competing as per se. It's not a zero-sum game. A lot of Chinese have migrated into Tonga and they've become Tongan citizens. And interestingly enough, if you go to the stores, a lot of them only speak Mandarin and Tongan, not even English. And so we find that there's a lot of similarity between our two cultures.
Despite those similarities and beyond China's apparent generosity, Tonga is also a very visible example of debt-trap diplomacy. This is the main street of the capital, Nuku'alofa. Most of this city was destroyed in pro-democracy riots back in 2006, and China stepped in.
Whoa. Go back. Of what in 2006? You said riots?
Back in 2000, street of the capital, Nuku'alofa. Most of this city was destroyed in pro-democracy riots back in 2000.
Pro-democracy riots, and then you're trying to interbreed communism, right? Didn't they say that? They like the communist part? Pro-democracy riots. Pro-democracy communism. Two very different things. Very, very different. Interesting. Okay.
2006, and China stepped in, lending Tonga the money to rebuild. It's now a $190 million debt. That's roughly a quarter of Tonga's GDP. The loan is due by 2030, but for this small developing country, it's proving almost impossible to pay back.
Which then China is going to say, oh, well, you don't owe us the money, or you owe us the money and we helped save you, so now you are now a Republic of China. Or we're going to build some bases there because you owe us $200 million and you can't pay that. Australia's not going to bail them out. America's not going to bail them out because, well, you know, you got Trump out there canceling shit left and right to stop bills. So the last thing you want to do is spend $200 million to pay off China. And I'm sure China's smart enough, their intel, to know where that $200 million came from if America was in fact to bail them out. Ah, that's kind of rough, right? Because they owed us that money, not you, right? We don't care that you want to give that money. We want that money from that nation. So I'll tell you what we're gonna do. Yo, you can mark my words. Write this down. Here's the deal. You owe us $195 million. You can't pay it. Fine. You've paid off $40 million. We're gonna build a base. We're gonna build a base on the outskirts of one of your town, which will bring in jobs for the Tongans. Tonganonians, I don't know what it is, Tongans. You have jobs there. It'll be a military base, Chinese, and that's where we're gonna be. And we're gonna do that in the next 5 years. Literally, 2025, 2030.
Can Tonga ever repay that?
The loan philosophy of China is something like that. If you loan from me 1,000, I said, okay, you pay me 100 a month. Then after 2 months, 3 months, can you come back? Can I delay paying my loan? Because my father has just died. Okay, delay for another 3 months.
You're not worried about paying back this money?
Oh, we are worried. We have to pay. There's no way we can't do it, you know. We have to pay it and ask for delay.
You can't pay it if you don't have the money to pay it, right? Somebody's got to bail you out. Who's going to bail you out if you just got rid of the West that dropped the ball?
For another couple of years, and then ask for another couple of years. And then the next request for delay, then China might come in and say, okay, pay the next year, and the rest is okay.
Are there strings attached to China's money?
No. There's no string of that. That's Chinese policy.
But isn't Beijing buying the loyalty of the Tongan people, buying influence here?
But they're not buying loyalty, you know. They treat people the same. Even big country or small country, they treat us
Again, we go back to my pool analogy. If I am buying things for you and giving you power and building windmills, whatever, I may not be asking for anything, but when the time is there when I need it, you're going to help me. Like sort of how Hazers helped me now. It's the same thing. There are strings attached. You just don't want to say that because you could say the West dropped the ball, though, because the West doesn't help you.
all the same.
But as Tonga delays paying off its debt, China's presence in the country is growing. How many of the shops and businesses are owned and run by China?
I think about 80%.
80%?
Or even bigger than that.
Taisi Takao is a local district officer, equivalent to a mayor. He's watched with concern as Chinese shops...
My man is wearing a carpet, okay, like a praying mat, as a skirt attached with a karate belt. And you're a mayor? Do you know what I could be if I moved to the fuck if I know you? Could you know what I would be there? I would be the king. This guy's wearing a damn praying mat, like a yoga mat as a okay.
Shops have taken over his villages. So China is in every aspect of life and business here.
They doing shops, construction, hardwares. They doing fishing. They harvesting our sea cucumbers. They running their own piggery farm, poultry. Yeah.
Do you fear they have too much control?
Too much. Yes.
Do you worry that China is taking over Tonga?
Yes,
You do?
I do.
It's a snapshot of what's happening across the Pacific. Australia has watched with concern.
Watch this. Watch this. Mind blown.
As Beijing signed a security deal with the Solomon Islands. And just a couple of months ago, an agreement with the Cook Islands around economic development and maritime cooperation. Chinese officers are embedded in police forces in Fiji and Vanuatu, while Samoa has struck a deal to collaborate with China on security. If he has enough infrastructure and influence in this region, Xi Jinping can do whatever he wants, can't he?
I don't think so. I think as part of Chinese policy is to respect authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are of no. Let me tell you, what was there? What did they say? 100,000 people are on this island. 100,000. That's like 5 missile strikes. Yeah, that's not. Okay.
Yeah.
And you trust.
And you got to stop saying Chinese policy, because Chinese policy it's a communist. Okay, for people don't know, China is communism. There is no policy. It's whatever I want. You just got to look at communism on paper. Like, just, it looks good, but look at China, that's communism at its finest. There is no policy. I feel like I need your island right now. So that's what you're going to give me. If you don't, well, then we'll see what happens. We'll take it from there.
You trust that?
I trust it.
The Australian government doesn't share Siameli Latu's confidence and has been busy playing catch-up, increasing aid and budget support for Tonga to $85 million over the next 4 years. And there's an important soft diplomacy game underway too. This joint DFAT and NRL program goes well beyond sport.
I think it's important because we're talking about winning the hearts and minds of everyday people. That is something that transcends geopolitics. It's something that both Australian people and Tongan people love equally.
But Lord Whakawhenua says Australia still has...
There's that name again. There's that name. I feel like I have to get different times when you say it to try to figure out what it exactly is.
But Lord Whakawhenua says Australia still has a long way to go.
The diplomatic relations that I've personally experienced with Beijing is they have a very long-term, measured approach and forge lasting relationships.
Do they play a long game?
They do play a long game. They play a very long game.
And as you'll see, China is in it to win it. Coming up, a dire warning to Australia.
You don't have enough aircraft. You don't have enough ships.
And why is it when Chinese talk, they always sound so angry? Like, I play a game World of Tanks, and whenever you have Chinese commanders, they just sound like they could be saying, hello, how are you? And it's so loud that I get startled. And it's just like a greeting. They always sound so aggressive.
You would lose.
When it comes to China's military and strategic ambitions, few people have more knowledge and experience than former Colonel Zhou Bo. After more than 3 decades serving with China's People's Liberation Army, or PLA, Zhou Bo is eager to defend his nation's massive military build-up and acts of aggression in our region. China has undertaken the most rapid military expansion of any country since World War II. Can you understand why that is a threat to a country like Australia?
No, I don't think I don't think you're right at all on this point, because I would argue in a different way that China's rise has been unprecedentedly peaceful. Actually, it's a miracle in human history.
Why does China need the
Really? Really? Taiwan? Really? Peaceful. You're going to hand over your whole island, and if you don't, we're going to take it. That's peaceful? Okay.
largest navy in the world if its intention is peace?
China's intention is not a secret, because we have made it quite clear that we want to build a world-class military. Being strong doesn't mean that you have to be a hegemon. And this is not the case. There is no proof that China is, becoming a hegemon.
A what? A hegemon? What's a hegemon? I don't know what that is.
There is, in fact, plenty of proof that Beijing wants regional dominance, combining its vast resources with soft diplomacy across the Pacific to embed Chinese dependency, as we saw in the small island nation of Tonga. But Joe Bo insists it's simply good business. Isn't the end game for Beijing security agreements? Military alliances?
Not at all. For example, with all these Chinese projects, China, of course, will become influential, right? Yeah, that is for sure. But that does not mean that you are going to establish a sphere influence. Then you would seek alliance. Then you would have allies. Then you behave like the United States. Yeah, and
That's not a bad argument, right? Because you're doing what America did, argumentably still today, but you're doing what America did 200 years ago, roughly. You're just doing it in a more noticeable way because now we have internet, now we have news, you have cameras. So I guess that's not a bad argument.
And having allies all together sometimes sounds good, but actually it's a difficult job. Herding the cats is never easy. So why should China bother with establishing spheres of influence if it is already influential around the world?
So China doesn't need those smaller allies?
I don't think China needs any allies.
It's been described.
Yo. Whew. Okay.
As the most challenging strategic environment we've seen in about 80 years.
Chief of the Royal Australian Navy, Vice Admiral Mark Hammond, is all too aware of the growing threat as China's navy expands and intimidates. Do you think they're preparing for war?
Governments don't invest billions of dollars into military capabilities for no reason at all. And the same is true of us. The Australian government has committed to doubling the size of our surface combatant force and transforming our submarine capability because our assessment of the strategic environment is that this is a worthwhile investment in the national interest. And alongside our allies and partners, our collective maritime capabilities need to be able to deliver what we call a deterrent effect.
Is that another way of saying we're not quite up to scratch at the moment?
So I would put it this way, Amelia. My job as the Chief of the Navy is to not rely upon a strategy of hope. My job is to be a pessimist and to try and see the world for what it is, not what I would wish it to be. So my reflex to that responsibility is to assume that things will get worse, not better, and to ensure that the Royal Australian Navy is prepared in all respects for any challenge which may come our way within the resources allocated. Brilliant. Straight inside? Yes, sir.
The Chief is keen to show us they're well on their way. Today, we're on the guided missile destroyer HMAS Brisbane, which has just had a considerable upgrade.
When Brisbane goes to sea again, she will be fitted for and capable of firing the Naval Strike Missile, which is one of the most capable anti-ship missiles available right now. And then in late last year, the Tomahawk land attack missile firing conducted by this very ship. So within 18 months, we've transformed a very capable surface combatant into one of the most modern and lethal surface combatants I think we've ever operated.
While the unannounced appearance of a Chinese flotilla in Australian waters back in February has put our Navy on edge, incredibly, former PLA Colonel Joe Bo says it served us right. Would you not describe that as an aggressive activity, a show of force?
I'm glad you mentioned this because actually this kind of sailing by Chinese Navy would provide to you a chance of soul-searching of what you have done to China. Yeah, if that makes you...
Oh, good point. So if I'm outside, if you feel that I'm a threat, why? Why do you feel that I'm a threat? What did you do to us that makes us feel threatening? He brings up some valid points.
A show of force?
I'm glad you mentioned this because actually this kind of sailing by Chinese Navy would provide to you a chance of soul-searching of what you have done to China. Yeah, if that makes you to think, I think that is good for you.
He's referring to the Australian Navy's operations in the South China Sea, sailing through the Taiwan Strait to promote freedom of navigation, which Beijing sees as a provocation. So was that retaliation?
Well, I think it's not a kind of retaliation, but it just shows you, first of all, if you are talking about the law, Chinese ships also have rights to do freedom of navigation. But if you do not like this concept, then think of what you have done to China. Yeah, and then think about what China has done to you.
My man's dropping truth bombs all over the place. If you don't like what we're doing, then stop doing it to us. It's a valid argument. Just like I think it's a valid argument, and everybody knows I'm American, I love America. I'm just saying that if you keep showing up places that we're not designed to be there, right? Take that how you want to take that.
To you. This is fair.
It's not very friendly, is it, to show up and do live fire exercises? Why wouldn't China warn us?
Well, is it friendly that you have sent aircraft and ships so close to China? Yeah, to make all these provocations? Who did it first? Do not to do unto others what you would not do to yourself, right? Historically speaking, you are always fighting other people's war, right? Be it in Gallipoli, be it in Afghanistan, yeah, or even during the Second World War, you're always fighting other people's wars. Why should you always fight other people? Why would you always follow other people's footprint?
He's not wrong, man. He's not wrong.
Australia has a proud history of defending democracy, and Vice Admiral Hammond says that's not about to change. While he hopes he'll never see his Navy's training and preparedness put to the test in the theatre of war, China's ambitions couldn't be any clearer. The PLA is now routinely rehearsing a blockade of the Taiwan Strait, practicing hitting key ports and energy infrastructure.
I'm all in on diplomacy. I'm all in on deterrence. But I have to be all in on defence of our nation. And that begins with an assumption that despite everybody's best efforts, we find ourselves in a conflict. Okay? And there are 1,000 ways to start a conflict. There's only 2 ways that it ends. And they are, in my view, you lose the national willpower to continue the fight, or you lose the economic ability to continue the fight.
Joe Bo claims that China only wants peace and prosperity, as long as it's on Beijing's terms. And should tensions in the Taiwan Strait lead to war, he has a grim warning for Australia. If that conflict that we've been discussing were to eventuate, who would win?
You would lose, definitely.
Ah!
Been discussing.
He didn't say, you know, if that was to happen, you know, look at yours, look at ours. Well, I mean, it's a lot like Trump, right? I mean, it's very similar to what Trump is. You know, go to war with us, we'll win, we'll win, we'll win. Well, China versus Australia, you know who's going to get involved with that, right? That's going to be Britain. And you know who Britain's going to ask? America. And then that means America helps out Britain because they're helping out Australia. But then China's going to be like, oh, wait a minute. Not only are you intervening with our Taiwan situation, which my opinion is we should not worry about that. We are at, let me finish this.
Were to eventuate, who would win?
You would lose, definitely. You don't have enough aircraft, you don't have enough ships, and our military is growing by leaps and bounds. And we are fighting our home turf, and we are determined to safeguard China's sovereignty. On that, you can imagine our soldiers would be brave, and our weapons would be lethal.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Hopefully, yeah.
Here's the thing. We get into these fights, and I just remember history. When there are wars, right? Go back prior to World War I, World War II, or anything in between there. Wars are going to happen, right? In order for there to be peace, there must be war. In order for there to be war, there must be peace. So the argument is that if we keep getting involved in everything, which America does, we get involved in every single aspect of every war somehow or another, whether we're providing a side with weaponry, whether we're providing support, no matter what, America gets involved. We just have our hands in everything. And that means the loss of lives. My argument is, as sound as possible, being someone that served in the Middle East, I can tell you that it's all for naught. It's for nothing. It's let that go. World War II is a little bit different because that Hitler was going bonkers. But if it's one nation versus another nation, that's it. One nation versus another nation. And I think that's where it needs to be. If you want to go conquer a town and take over a town, you could do that. Or you want to take over a state or a country, you can do that if you win. If you lose, it's not that you're being a bully. They've tried to do it peacefully, and you keep saying no. So if you don't agree with what I want to do, I'm just going to go do it. Thank you all for watching. See you guys on the next one. Stay beautiful.